the dim light of a forsaken meadow, a once glorious steed stands motionless, an unwitting canvas for nature's cruel brush. What at first glance appears a grotesque lesion upon the horse's flank is not merely a wound, but a living, pulsating infestation, a hive of buzzing torments. This is no ordinary injury marked by a simple cut or abrasion. It is a horrific spectacle of hive invasion, where thousands of bees have claimed the horse's flesh as their new home, transforming muscle and skin into a buzzing necropolis. The sight gnaws at the edges of human comprehension, an unsettling fusion of the familiar and the alien, eliciting a dark fascination that compels you to look deeper into this grotesque symbiosis. The horse, a creature typically emblematic of strength and grace, has been besieged by a swarm so vast and organized that it resembles a living armor of buzzing brutality. The hive, nestled within a gaping wound, is a grim testament to both the resilience and the vulnerability of nature's cycles. Bees, driven by instinct and necessity, have burrowed into the ruptured tissue, their bodies glimmering black and yellow in stark contrast with the raw red of exposed flesh. The hive's exterior, an irregular, damp, and writhing mound, emits a sickly sweet odor that mingles pheromone signals with the unmistakable metallic tang of blood. Every beat of the horse's trembling flank sends a chorus of small, frantic wings into motion, a discordant symphony of pain and persistence. Beneath the hive's grim surface lies a chaotic network of honeycomb cells, teeming with larvae and pupae, nestled amidst the torn muscle fibers and festering tissue. The bees, depending on their species, may have been drawn to the horse's wound by the scent of nectar-laden flowers nearby, or, in a cruel twist, by the chemical reactions in decaying flesh. In this grim habitat, the honey they produce is imbued with tarnished blood serum, a nectar corrupted, a sweet substance turned bitter. In the quiet corners of a wild landscape, away from the sheen of well-tended farms and manicured pastures, a peculiar and grotesque phenomenon unfolds upon the flesh of a humble goat. You might expect tales of majestic chases or serene pastoral beauty when you think of these sure-footed creatures, but here lies a stark and unrelenting story far from the bucolic ideal. Before your eyes is a sight so jarring it claws at the boundaries of both fascination and revulsion, a goat whose body is a grotesque canvas for a hive made not by what one imagines, but by a relentless swarm of bees. This is not the buzzing idyll of spring blossoms and honey, but a dark symbiosis of nature's indifferent cruelty, where a living wound festers and thrives. The goat's skin, once a uniform coat of earth-toned fur, now reveals an obscene landscape. From the twisted mass of raw pink flesh and hardened waxy honeycombs, the humdrone of countless bees rises, a chorus not of sweetness but of agony and infestation. The hive is an open wound, a nightmare colony teeming with stinging inhabitants who have, for reasons tied deep in the labyrinth of natural behavior and environmental pressure, claimed this unsuspecting mammal as their host. The edges of the wound swell with inflamed tissue, blackened by bacterial growth fostered in the sticky secretions of the hive, weeping amber-colored nectar that attracts more and more insects in a vicious circle of invasion and decay. It is a hive, yes, but also a wound, a battleground where the goat suffers an unending siege of pain and survival. The origins of such a horrifying state trace back to the peculiar relationship between bees and the environment they occupy. While bees generally prefer the quiet sanctuaries of hollow trees or secluded caverns to build their waxy abodes, occasionally, in the absence of such, in the heart of a dense and shadowy jungle, the sight of a jaguar alone can captivate any onlooker with its majestic grace. Yet, here lies a creature far removed from the tales of beauty and stealth, its once sleek fur marred by a grotesque swollen mass pulsating on its side. This is no ordinary wound, but a chilling hive of bee infestation, a living nightmare etched onto the jaguar's body. What appears at first glance as a simple injury is instead a grotesque battleground where nature's fury and survival collide in repulsive harmony. Hundreds of angry, buzzing bees have turned this magnificent predator into a hive, their relentless stings embedding it in a sickening mosaic of pain and decay. The jaguar's sinewy muscles beneath the hive writhe in agony, the skin stretched taut and corrupted by layers of wax and propolis, transforming the animal's hide into a festering sculpture of nature's darker whims. Bee infestation in this wild context is as fascinating as it is horrifying. Normally, bees are celebrated as diligent pollinators, architects of sweetness and life. But here, in this unfortunate intersection of predator and insect, they reveal a brutal facet of survival. The bees have colonized a wound, exploiting in the dense, oppressive shadows of the rainforest, where light barely pierces the thick canopy of twisted branches and dripping leaves. There lingers a grotesque and unsettling spectacle, a silverback gorilla, once a majestic titan of the jungle, now a battlefield marked by nature's darker whispers. This formidable creature, the silent monarch of its realm, bears upon its thick, leathery skin a ghastly tableau, a massive, festering beehive embedded crudely within the flesh of its shoulder blade. The hive, a thriving necropolis of buzzing agony, grotesquely mirrors a pulsing, inflamed tumor, swollen with venom and buzzing with the relentless, militant energy of hundreds of angry bees. The scene is as nightmarish as it is fascinating, a vivid reminder that the jungle's law is written not only in the triumph of the strong, but also in the failings of the vulnerable. The wound itself is a curious, almost macabre sculpture of destruction. Jagged, torn flesh and matted fur frame the hive, which appears as if grafted rather than grown, with honey oozing thick and dark, mixed grotesquely with congealed blood. The texture is horrifyingly primal, sticky, sweet, and sinister, and it permeates the air around the beast with an unmistakably sharp, fermented sting. It is a gory testament to an ongoing war waged at the microscopic and ecological levels, where survival is measured not just in claw and tooth, but in stings that pierce the armor of the giant. Such an infestation occurs when bees, driven by their instinct to build and expand, find opportunity in injury. The gorilla's wound, whether caused by a clash with a rival or a misstep through the thorny underbrush, became a macabre home for a swarm of African honeybees. These tiny beasts, relentless and coordinated, have laid siege to the soft underlayer beneath the gorilla's thick hide, burrowing their wax cone deep within the festering cavity. The bees exploit this unnatural niche, producing honey and breeding their young, while the poor gorilla endures the continuous sting and irritation. Each moment, spores and bacteria, unseen and insidious, infect further, turning the wound into an open, decaying wound sore, a biological prison where the gorilla's immune system struggles and often fails to retaliate effectively. This strangely symbiotic yet parasitic relationship reflects a brutal side of nature often overshadowed by tales of majestic harmony. The bees, protected under armor of nature's design, do not distinguish their host's suffering. Their instinctive drive compels them to persevere. Indifferent to the gorilla's slow decline under their assaulty tenant, the gorilla's movements grow, labored and hesitant, weighed down by both physical pain and the mental fatigue of enduring a constant, buzzing torment. Nature, it seems, can be as relentless in its cruelty as in its beauty. Turning our gaze deeper into the biological mechanics of this infestation, we see a microcosm of evolutionary strategy and survival. African honeybees, known scientifically as Apis mellifera scutellata, are fiercely defensive and highly adaptive. Their hives, typically nestled high in trees or